getting into now is a period where we're judging directors who are, if not in fledgling stages of their career, not as, the people we're looking at in the 90s and certainly before that are people who,
are
you can see the
established.
trajectory exactly of their careers. But this, you're seeing people, it's a very interesting combination because there's some people in this list who are really kind of just broke out in the last 10 or less years. And then a few people who've been here a little bit longer. But this is the one where I feel like it gets a little bit, there's less of the established like Tarantino, Nolan, Spielberg picks. Like, I don't think there really is anyone who, I don't know. I don't really know who is the director of this list, Like, I feel like the official director, 60s, it's definitely Scorsese, if you're picking the objective one, it's definitely Spielberg in the 70s. But this, I don't know.
It's
I don't even feel
harder.
like I have a defined one. I do have a pick, but it's
it's much harder. Although I would say the conventional wisdom probably would say Inarritu.
I guess so.
Just the fact that he won 2 years in a row at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So I would say the conventional wisdom probably would be him.
I guess, but I don't think a lot of people would say he's their favorite.
No. But for me, I think certainly this decade has a lot of heavy hitters in the last couple of years, and I think the Safdie brothers for me are pretty much up there. They're certainly spectacular. I think Steve McQueen is very underrated for what he's done.
Oddly to say, given he's won Best Picture, but
he
is. He's not like someone who's in the, like Chazelle or someone who's to me is as much in the discussion. Every one of his movies is great, and the trailer for his new miniseries just came out. It looks really good too. He's not the highest, but he's up there for me, certainly.
Yeah. And then I would say Rian Johnson as well.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Rian Johnson and Barry Jenkins probably are in the same vein. But I mentioned them both because they're both next to each other in this list. But Rian Johnson and Barry Jenkins, who have made some really spectacular movies.
It's funny.
Also some underwhelming ones as well, So I think, for me, Rian Johnson is very interesting because I think he's an extremely talented filmmaker. Like, I think Brick and Looper are very good movies. They're very good movies.
I think my favorite is still Brick.
Knives Out too is a great movie as well, even though I don't think they kind of transcend to that level. I
don't know. I kind of love Knives Out, honestly. I still think Brick is his best movie, but
right, yeah.
But, it's funny. I have him much lower than Jenkins, but I'm like, Jenkins has just one great movie. It's staggeringly great movie. But Rian Johnson, it's like, I would say, he's almost in that where you make three great movies, you're in the pantheon, where it's like Brick, Knives Out, and Looper. I would all put in that category. And then a few years ago, I might have said Last Jedi too. I've since revisited it and sort of had to say, like, I don't know if it's that high, but it's still really great. And Rian Johnson, actually, he could be a little bit higher than I've first put him. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, no, and I don't know, because I think for me, his defining movies are Brick and Looper. Even though I did really enjoy Knives Out, I just think I don't know. I don't want to even say there's something about it. It just, I guess it doesn't stand out to me as sort of.
I don't know. Maybe it's just a little less serious, or it's a little bit
maybe
more of just like it's not a goof. It's a movie that has actual ideas, but it's more. It feels like the most of like movie where he's just trying to like put on a great show, have a great time,
Yeah.
even more than Last Jedi, which actually in many ways is a very like self-serious movie.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way.
And so it's funny because I have a hard time actually parsing these directors out into my favorites, which is
a
very
lot of
strange.
them are small, you're getting a lot of the one-time great. Oddly, one of them in this category is Zack Snyder, who's 75% of his movies I think are like horrendous, but Watchmen is a pretty great movie. Joe Wright, I think a lot of his movies are not so great, but I would say Atonement and Darkest Hour are pretty great. Who's another one who has just like one? Armando Iannucci. I haven't seen his other movies, but of course Death of Stalin is
of course
wonderful. Like a lot of people when they did this director game on the podcast where I first heard of it, there are a number of people who picked Gerwig. I think maybe they had Gerwig in the next decade because it was her solo debut in the 2010s. I counted her this one because she directed a movie with another person in the 2000s. Yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned what I think about Greta Gerwig's Little Women, but even like Lady Bird, I don't see as great as other people do. Even though I think it's like a really, really good movie, I feel like most people I know feel the same way though. Like my mom and my brother. Like I went to see it with my mom and I thought, oh, she'd really like it because it's a movie about motherhood, and me and my mom have kind of like, not the same kind of tense mother-child relationship as that movie, but you could see some parallels maybe a little bit. But she was like, I don't know. She thought it was okay. I don't know. It's just like it's interesting to me that she really strikes a chord with a lot of people in a way that just it's like in the film critic world, but in the real world, not so much. I mean, and I guess I'm speaking for you too, but I don't feel like you are like a huge Lady Bird fan.
No. I'm not. I wasn't super enthused by Lady Bird, but I did actually like. What I'm forgetting the name now. What
Little
was
Women?
This? Yes, I
well, you're really.
I did actually like Little Women much more than you did, I would say. It wasn't my favorite movie of the year, but I feel like you gave it a little bit of short shrift. So
it's funny because I don't hate it, but I just like I can appreciate that parts of it are good, but it really just there's something about that movie that just like it just repulses me so much. I just don't know what it is because it's not like I have a low rating of it. Like I gave it like like a 6 out of 10, but I watched just like a 2-minute scene of it on YouTube the other day, and I was like, oh, good. Like I was like it's like watching a beheading or something, like it's terrible. And then I looked at the 1994 one with Winona Ryder and Christian Bale. And I was like, wow, this looks really lovely. There's something about her style, like the constant cutting, and it's just, I don't know, whatever. It's just not.
In any case,
but it's interesting. Some of these lesser people are more interesting to actually talk about, than.
Yeah, I would say so. My two big people of this decade. I guess not to discount Iannucci because he did make maybe my favorite movie of the 21st century, but certainly my favorite favorite
Fury
movie.
Road?
Well, it's hard. It's a hard one, but certainly one of, I mean, it's either that or Fury Road of what it was second. Didn't I put it second in the decade?
I think so. I think you said Fury Road when we did the decade podcast.
Right, yeah,
we're doing the Death of Stalin for our film club on Sunday.
Oh, it's fantastic! Oh my gosh, can I be invited? Yeah. When is it? Sunday?
It's on Sunday, 5:00. Do you actually want it?
Yeah, I'm working, unfortunately. Maybe I'll call in sick. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, one other one-off I just noticed is Michel Gondry, who did Eternal Sunshine. That's another, just like one great movie.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, a masterpiece. But anyway, who are the people you're gonna say?
No, I would say that the two that kind of come to mind as the top for this decade would be Chazelle and Bong Joon Ho.
Okay.
And so for me, I mean, I don't know. Again, Bong Joon Ho, I would say probably has made. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say because Chazelle has made like, I would say 3 great movies in a row, and Bong Joon Ho probably has, what, 3 great movies in his catalog?
Well,
maybe
depending
4?
on what you want to call it, you could say 3 or 4 or 5 great movies.
Yeah.
And I would say all 7 are like really good to great movies, to masterpieces, really, because I mean, even Barking Dogs Never Bite is still a very good movie, and at its best, you know, the great movies he's made, like Mother, Memories of Murder, Parasite, and Snowpiercer, are all like phenomenal. I mean, in a way, I think he has, you know, I kind of think maybe he is the quote unquote like correct answer,
the best of this,
because like he has the most great movies, the most impressive output, the most consistent output. Like he's more consistent. He really, than Ritu.
He really does. Yeah, he really does have the best catalog. Now that I'm looking at it, just considering, I was like, oh yeah, Memories of Murder. Oh yeah, Mother. Oh yeah, Snowpiercer. I loved Okja. Oh yeah, Parasite. You know, it's like he really, he's the biggest. Like if you could fit him into the 90s. Like I feel like he would be the most comfortable there, with the rest of the
I mean, when you compare it to everyone else here, I know what
you
mean. Yeah, he's sort of he's reached another level, and it's funny to me that it took Parasite was the one where everyone started taking notice, because it's like, I was watching this guy for years before this,
me too,
saying he was one of the great directors, and Snowpiercer was the one for me where I just was like, what is this? This is amazing.
And then we both like incredibly loved Mother. Like we both thought Mother was just, I mean, it's just a stupidly good movie.
Did you see that for the first time with me in the dorm?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
I think still that's my favorite. It's my favorite of his movies. It's the one that I actually recommend the most to people above Parasite.
Right.
Well, actually, it's more like people who have seen Parasite. I'm like, hey, you should also watch Mother, because I think it's just it's a phenomenal movie, and it is way better than Mother.
It's better than Parasite.
It's better than Parasite on basically every level. So
yes, I would agree on all accounts. Did you want to talk about Chazelle though?
Yeah, we can move on to Chazelle. Although I will say, before we do that, maybe let's take it down a notch and talk a little bit about the Safdies and a little bit about Salmier, who I completely forgot about, but I think is very much up there for me, because I think Blue Ruin and Green Room are just spectacular movies. They're so good.
I definitely like Blue Ruin more than Green Room, but I mean they're all evident of a really strong, talented filmmaker.
Yeah. The only unfortunate thing is, we saw his latest movie. What was it called?
Hold the Dark was definitely the weakest, but it was kind of enjoyable though. I mean, like I enjoyed just watching him direct. Like it was just, I was like, wow, this is just like a beautifully made movie that just didn't have a great story.
No, exactly.
Impressive.
But I'm interested to see where he goes. He's one of the ones that I'm like most excited, I guess, to see how he evolves as a director.
Yeah, these are both filmmakers, or the Safdies and him, who have sort of, they feel more of the subsequent decade, where it's like, I think they made like one movie in like 2008 or 9, and then came out. And the Safdies, I think, have just been, I mean, I've only seen Good Time and Uncut Gems, but I think Uncut Gems, oh no, that's not true. I've saw some of the earlier movies.
Yeah, you saw, didn't you see Daddy Longlegs?
Yeah, the earlier ones are kind of interesting, but not super great. But Good Time, it's just this like shot out of a cannon. Oh my
goodness, yeah.
Absolutely riveting movie.
I think I declared that it was my favorite movie of Cannes 2017.
Yes, you did. Having been there yourself.
That speaks quite a bit to how much I love these movies. considering in that year was also The Beguiled that went to Cannes.
Okja, yeah.
Okja that
Sacred
went to
Deer.
Cannes. Sacred Deer. Yeah, exactly.
And
So
BPM.
oh God, get the fuck out of here. No, yeah. So I mean, A Good Time was really the one that kind of left an imprint on me.
Mm-hmm.
In that I think it's actually, well, I guess maybe it's the one that I could bring home and being like, oh yeah, you should watch this movie.
Oh no, there was a great fun to
watch
that, and well, that and Sacred Deer. I remember that year where you were like so excited to go, and we saw both of them together at the draft house.
Yes, we did.
Maybe like kind of quick succession, and yeah, what a blast. But Uncut Gems, I think in a way they leveled up even further with just an even more interesting character and a pretty astounding performance from Sandler in that movie.
Well, and it's one that I've been surprised to see. I was actually just talking about it today where, one of my coworkers was like, yeah, I've never liked Sandler. I've never liked his movies. And I watched Uncut Gems and I just loved it. I fell in love with Sandler and his character, like it completely changed my mind on him. And I was like, yeah, totally,
No, it really, you as much as he's just like a total like ass, you really come to care about him. And it's fascinating 100%. How they're able to do that. Yeah, they're great. Is there anyone else I want to also mention before I get into my favorites?
Yeah, Yorgos Lanthimos, who I just
he's pretty good.
Killing a Sacred Deer and The Lobster, which I just watched a couple weeks ago. Again,
the favorite,
and the favorite. I always forget about it.
I don't know if I think I love any of his movies, but he's a really. There's no one making movies like him. He's really. And I kind of do really like Sacred Deer though. That is a dark movie, man.
It is.
You know who I want to mention because just it's like part of my childhood is Nick Park, who did the Wallace and Gromit. Well, he did the Wallace and Gromit shorts and then the movie, which is actually a really wonderful movie, at least from my memory, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Did you ever watch Wallace and Gromit?
Yeah, I think I watched the movie, and potentially some of the shorts, but I can't remember any.
He also directed Chicken Run, which I saw like years ago, which I think is a good movie.
Yeah, Chicken Run was weird because it was one that I remember watching as a kid and then growing up and realizing that it was about the Holocaust and I'm not understand. Yeah, what? Yeah, what do you mean? What?
I didn't realize that. I haven't seen the movies in like 10 years.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's completely about the Holocaust. Yeah.
Oh wow.
and having that realization completely shocked me. So yeah,
wow.
Chicken Run is a very very dark movie. I would say children's movie.
Yeah, for sure. McDonough, just very quickly, has made two, I think, really great movies. 3 Billboards and In Bruges. I don't know, 3 Billboards got a lot of very unfavorable and I think unjustified backlash.
Agreed.
When it came out. But that's a movie I feel like I'm going to be returning to over and over just in my life. Maybe the best Frances McDormand performance, which is, again, a pretty impressive feat.
Lord and Miller, I think, have done a great job in the animated realm. I think
movie being the best movie, I think, right?
I think the Lego. I actually kind of agree. I mean, I think the Lego movie is almost unparalleled in a certain sense. Well, as far as animated movies go, although I do,
it was so meta and kind of like self-aware and that can be so annoying. Like I hate those Deadpool movies, but like in this case, they did it just in a way that was right. And it was actually surprisingly moving. Which very unexpected.
And I would say Adam McKay, the Big Short, I really enjoyed, even though I hated Vice. I thought Vice was just fucking terrible. But I think The Big Short is a lot of fun, actually. I think
It is. It's
enjoyable.
an interesting movie. I'm not like in love with it, but you know what I really like is his movie Anchorman, which I actually think is one of the funnier movies of that period of comedy. Yeah. I just very quickly will go through like Tony Gilroy, Michael Clayton, absolutely great film. Xavier Dolan made Mommy, which is, you know, one of my favorite movies ever, and also is very impressive because he's made like 8 movies and he's only just turned 30. That's pretty good. Judd Apatow, I actually like all of his movies, and I think Funny People with Adam Sandler is probably the best Adam Sandler movie. Best use of Adam Sandler, certainly. Well, Uncut Gems is probably the best performance, but Funny People is the best movie. J.J. Abrams, that's an interesting one. But the thing is, like, I do love The Force Awakens, and I really do like Super 8, you know, and he's a talented craftsman. I do like the first Star Trek. Yeah. It's really good. I just think I wish he would work as a gun for hire. Like, I wish he would. Yeah. I think there is maybe no director with a greater distance between his talent as a director and his talent as a writer. Because as demonstrated in The Rise of Skywalker, but even you can see it in some of the other movies. If he was directing just, you know, scripts, or if he was like John Woo, where someone throws him an idea and he just does it, it would be great. And then the other guy I got to talk about, just because it's like fascinating to me, is David Ayer, because this is a guy. Did you realize that this week his new movie came out?
What?
There's a new David Ayer movie came out, and it is lower rated on Rotten Tomatoes than Suicide Squad and Bright.
Oh no.
So
what is it?
It's called The Tax Collector.
Oh, and God.
It's with Shia LaBeouf, and I had it on my list for over a year, I think, just because it's like, I'll go see the new David Ayer movie. And seeing the reviews, I just was like, forget it, because it's like, it's sort of like the whole like fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, you know, like that whole thing of like, you know, and then 3 times it's like, you know, you become just an idiot to keep falling for it.
But again, we maybe, I don't know, are we dumb? Do we because you like
Fury and
you
Fury
love
Road.
You love End of Watch. I haven't seen that actually, but I love Fury. I think Fury is just
Fury is great,
spectacular movie.
I mean, I haven't seen it since the theater.
Are we stupid?
No, I think they're good movies. I mean, and End of Watch, like, there's a possibility maybe we'd watch them and say they're not as great as we thought, but they're definitely very well-made movies. And he wrote both of them. That's the baffling thing, is like, he's writing all these movies. And this is why I want to be tentative about Mangold, you know, because it's like, if you make back-to-back, flat-out great movies like that, you become like someone I'll like ride or die for. Like, you know, most directors, it's like, if you make one great movie, I'll go and see basically anything you make, if it's not ripped to shreds by critics. But with Ayer, it's like, after 2-3 failures like this, it's like, I just have to accept maybe he's just not a guy who I see all of his movies, which is sad, because I would not have thought that after, you know, walking out of Fury. After having seen End of Watch. But yeah, just sort of too bad. And the other guy I want to talk about in the same vein, did I forget to put him in here? Is maybe I just forgot to put Jon Favreau. I don't, for some reason I didn't put him on the actual list, but Favreau made his first movie in 2001, and he's just someone, again, who I feel like is, it's not like bad like Ayer, where he's made he hasn't made like horrible movies, but I just feel like he's someone who's working so beneath his talent, you know. I'm not sure if you saw Chef,
I didn't. No,
but that is a wonderful movie that me and my whole family, we watch over and over again. I mean, it's just a beautifully written movie, and it's really just like this like lovely rewatchable movie. And he also made Elf, which was a family staple for many years, watching it at Christmas every time. And also Iron Man is really solid movie too.
Yeah.
So it's like he's made these movies that each one I've seen probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
and
what's
then just
funny?
everything
What's
else.
funny is I've seen Elf, Zathura, Iron Man, Iron Man 2, and then I guess all of his. Well, I guess Chef is the one that I really haven't seen. That is considered his great. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna talk about the Lion King
I just mean like Elf and Iron Man he didn't write. Very few of these movies he wrote. I think he wrote Made, and he wrote Swingers, which he didn't direct, which is a good movie. But he's another guy, like I talk about Mottola, who it's like he has an incredible talent as a screenwriter, and it's like I understand that it's like you can't just make movies like Chef because it's not going to be a big hit. Like I understand going to Chef and then The Jungle Book, but it's like I don't understand this thing of you make Chef like easily his best movie, do The Jungle Book, and it's like a huge hit, but then you keep doing the stuff for Disney. It's like you just I mean, it's like, yeah, I guess it's great to like make even more money, but it's like any director would be happy just to make one movie as successful as The Jungle Book, and The Jungle Book was actually a decent movie, but then just doing The Lion King, which easily is worst movie, and just complete, just a soulless movie, carbon copy of the original, except with all the things that made the original good sucked out of it. And then just doing The Mandalorian, which I think is just kind of, I mean, look, maybe I'm just, an old man who's yelling at Cloud because everyone really seems to like The Mandalorian, but it's okay. But I just wish he would do more as a screenwriter. And unlike Mottola, I feel like he has the means to, because it's like he's had this huge success. I don't see why he, I feel like Rian Johnson and actually another person we could talk about, Taika Waititi, have both taken the success of their big Disney movies and have gone and done interesting things with that. And I think will probably continue. Waititi with Jojo Rabbit, I mean, I think probably his best movie.
Just so good, yeah.
As far as what I've seen after Ragnarok, and with Knives Out after Last Jedi. And so I just wish, someone like Favreau would do more stuff like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe critics weren't, as appreciative as Chef as maybe me and my family are, but it got pretty decent reviews and it did okay. I mean, I just don't understand, like, once you've had that success of a big hit like Iron Man and The Jungle Book, what do you have to lose, But, there's a reason he's making millions of dollars and I'm sitting here, doing nothing with my life. So what do I know? Is there anyone else?
I guess we should talk about Chazelle then.
Yes. Chazelle is definitely high on my. I'm trying to look up like who are the highest of my. The other weird thing about this is Gilligan is sort of like we're sort of just eliminating him just because of the whole.
Yeah,
TV
we're not
thing.
allowed to I guess to talk about Gilligan.
It just gets too complicated. Yeah. I think though, if he was counted as a. And when he probably should be, of the auteur of those 5 seasons of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, he's probably number one. I mean, he's probably the best. But yeah, for me, I'm like looking at it. It's like for me, this higher realm is like McQueen, Chazelle, Barry Jenkins, Jason Reitman, actually, who I should talk about, and probably Rian Johnson too, and maybe Inarritu. And then like Bong is a little bit higher. Bong and Chazelle are like a little bit higher. And then I'll get to the 2 who are my highest in a little bit, who I'm not sure if you can guess who those are. But Chazelle, I mean, we both came to him through Whiplash, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember the whole, I don't remember what part of the year that was when that came out, but that was just such an out of like nowhere thing.
I saw Whiplash in theaters. It's so funny. I have a vivid memory. I think it must have been maybe like May or it was like spring, I think.
Yeah, and it was such a weird thing because there was no connection to it in terms of like all the movies that are like the important movies you go see that, you know, are acclaimed are either like Oscar movies or connected to history or like some kind of important subject, or are a great director, you know. And it was so weird to see this movie that was just like someone no one had ever heard of, and it's getting the notice of these big movies, and enough notice that was nominated for Best Picture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I guess it must have been not spring. Now that I don't know. Who knows? I saw this movie. I remember at the ArcLight in LA with my brother. And I was down there visiting him for some reason in 2015 or 2014 or whatever it actually came out. And it was like we both had zero expectations for this movie. We were like, oh yeah, I heard good things about it. You know, it's about a jazz drummer. You know, there was there's some buzz around it.
No, there's no attachment of like hype coming from
it
being a person we know. You know.
And we watched it, and we were both just like completely blown away by how tight everything was. I mean, I think it's still his best movie. I would say.
I'm starting to think about where I stand on that whole thing, because I still would say if someone asked me, La La Land is my favorite, but
yeah,
I could go back and forth. I mean, they're both pretty just astonishing movies, and I think it was a brilliantly marketed movie, Whiplash. I just am remembering how they put out the rushing or dragging scene. Like they put out the whole scene so you could watch it on YouTube. And I remember seeing this. I was like, oh wow, this is really and I love that J.K. Simmons was getting this kind of notice, because I'd always liked him in actually more for he has small roles in like every Reitman movie. And I think I probably knew him from Spider-Man as well. But I was like, oh my God, he's just like he's getting like the role of his life with this movie.
Yeah.
And had a really good trailer, but it was just more something that was on my list than something that I was like hyped to see, like maybe Interstellar that year.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw it. For me, it was I think, yeah, I saw Fury at the California, and then I walked out of the theater and I walked to the Shattuck, like no break, and I watched Whiplash, which is pretty amazing double bill, and a very stressful double bill too.
Yeah, so good.
And in some ways, yeah, I feel bad for Fury, because it's like any other day that would be the highlight of the day. But then Whiplash, it's like, and really what it was is it's the last scene. It's that finale of that movie. The way he sends you out. I mean, I just remember it being, I kept thinking it was gonna end because it felt like there's a finality after he, you know, leaves the school. You know, you're like, oh wow, are they gonna go the downbeat like 70s ending? And then there's the feeling of like, is it gonna end with him being humiliated in front of the audience? Like that really felt like that could have been the ending too. And then Chazelle's like, no, he's gonna come back on, and that. I mean, it's one of the most exhilarating experiences I've ever had in a movie theater of him playing in that sequence. And it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, I think you appreciate more when you know the filmmaking, but it's hard to explain why it's so great, because it's like it's all just in the way it's cut together. It's all in the direction. It's not about, I mean, it's about the story too, but what's memorable about it is just the velocity of the movie and the way it all goes into that finale, and how you just are like, I mean, I literally was like had my mouth open the entire time when he did it. Like I looked like an idiot watching this, because I was just like, I can't believe what I'm watching. I mean, it really was astonishing. And then telling my family, like, you got to see this movie, and they're like, like it takes a very, very strong persuasion to get my entire family to go out and see a movie. And I went to see it with all of them, and then they were like, had the same thing. I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like almost like sharing your religious text or something with people. And then I went with Adam and the film club, and like, they were all, and Elena, and everyone was just, it's one of those few movies that I feel like everyone likes, everyone loves, really, with the exception of like film, music people, and specifically music teachers. All the teachers I know hate it. Which is hilarious.
Well, it's funny because it's really funny. It's so weird. I was in high school when I watched this movie, right? Mm-hmm. I guess I was in my senior year of high school. Why was I hanging out with my brother for like a weekend or something? Like, it seems so weird to me.
Were you going down to LA to visit him?
Yeah, thinking about it now, I just like flew down to LA for some reason. I don't know. That seems weird, but
it's a nice way to see that movie for the first time, though.
No, exactly. Yeah. So, and then I came back, and I was in a jazz class, and I was like, guys, you have to see this movie. You have to.
Oh my God.
And so I got my my entire jazz class and my jazz teacher, who is completely the opposite of this of J.K. Simmons character, but
my violin teacher's just like that too. Yeah,
he's also bald, and he's also it's so funny, and he's got such a good sense of humor too. So
did they all see the movie, or did you all go together?
No. They all. I mean, everyone in that class saw the movie.
You talked them all to going on their own?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Including the teacher who constantly after that he made references to it. He was.
So did he like it though?
Oh yeah, he loved it.
Oh, that's good.
He thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
So many people I knew who are in music, they just didn't like it because they hated. My friend Jasper, who's like a musician, he hated the idea of. Because he said it's so antithetical to the philosophy of jazz. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't think you're supposed to watch this movie and think that this is right, what's happening.
But
it's just that it's seductive, funny because a lot of musicians do that to themselves.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because he was like, yeah, some of my professors were like that. He was a doctor, so he was like, yeah, so I had some teachers who were like that,
Yeah.
So
that's wild. Yeah, it really had this amazing kind of like lightning bolt impact when it came out,
and then when we saw La La Land, I mean, we saw it together.
Oh my God! I was just thinking
actually, I saw it first, didn't I? Or did we see it together?
No, I'm quite sure we saw it together. At the Mill.
No, at the Mill Valley Film Festival, didn't we?
No. I went. See, this is how hyped we were for La La Land. I was just thinking about like, other than Dark Knight Rises, maybe even more though. Actually, now that I think of it, the amount of hype we had for La La Land after Whiplash, the trailers they had for La La Land like were some of the best trailers I've ever seen, and just the look of the movie, who was in it, like everything about it. We were so excited, and I took the bus. I took like 3 buses in the BART train to try and get out to Mill Valley and stand in the rush line. This is how naive I was to think that you'd get in the rush line of the most anticipated film of the year. And I wasn't even first. I was like 10th, and not even the first person got in. And then so I was left having to get back with like 20% of my iPhone, try and navigate my way back to Berkeley from freaking Mill Valley. I mean, it was so stupid. But I'm glad in a way I didn't see it, because instead of seeing it in a terrible seat alone, I saw it with you and Adam and my whole family at the Castro.
Right.
And Chazelle, Hurwitz, Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling were there.
Yes, you're right.
And wow, what what a night that was.
And that
really,
was way before the premiere of that movie, right?
It was not like huge, but it was a little bit before. It was enough that we could be the cool ones and say, "Hey,
yeah, we knew what was
early,
up." Yeah, Well, I remember being like, "Oh my goodness!" Like, I can't wait till everybody can see this movie. And then there was obviously the controversy.
That was a little in
that happened,
and that was almost no real people cared about that.
No.
But it was more what the controversy more that was more prevalent was just the whole thing of like the movie being overrated or people not liking it or being like feeling like they had to like it because other people loved it so much, which is kind of funny because I know there's some people who just violently like Nancy. She said, "Oh, I watched half of it. It was terrible. I can't sit through it." So next time she's in town, I'm gonna force her to watch La La Land. But there was it was like Whiplash, where there was a spreading the gospel kind of feeling to it, where again I saw it with all my friends afterward, and I saw it with Adam and his whole family, and his movies are just these like wonderful events. Well, those two are. That's the weird thing is like First Man came out and it was like crickets, like people could care less. I mean, I still saw it with my family.
So sad.
And I saw it with you very memorably at the IMAX.
I loved it. I thought it was so good. I mean, I was incredibly moved by First Man.
No, that's a real controversy. That's the thing where the controversy really actually affected the movie's box office, I think, which is laughable. The whole flag thing we don't even need to think about because it's unbelievably stupid. I mean, it's hard. It's a pretty stiff competition. All the different controversies that have come out of how stupid they could be, but the flag one might be. It could be the stupidest. I don't know. He has some bad luck, but the flag thing and the Ira Madison jazz thing. That it's really amazing how people are. I don't know. It's sort of like the Scorsese Marvel thing, where it's like I think there's something about like people feel the need to like tear down someone who they think is like too powerful or too like in the public eye. I don't know. It's just a weird thing, but I have high hopes for Babylon.
Me too.
His silent era epic with allegedly Brad Pitt and Emma Stone.
But I mean I think I don't know. I think First Man got totally like shat on in my mind. Like either nobody saw it or people were upset about it for some reason.
And also some people just genuinely were not as crazy about it as like Kazu, who loves the other two movies. He wasn't that crazy about First Man, and I think my folks weren't either. I don't know. It's a more kind of in some ways it's kind of a more like impressionistic movie than the other ones, which are stylized, but they're more like accessible. I think like First Man, he's a very opaque character. You don't really know what's going on with him. So I think there's something about that that's a little harder to digest. But it is a really beautifully made movie, and also we should mention that the collaboration of him and Justin Hurwitz has got to be counted as one of the great musical, even with just those four movies, A Guy and Madeline being the other one, is one of the great director composer collaborations of the 21st century.
Maybe since I don't know, Leone and
oh, you go that far?
I don't know. What else? What
in
else
a way, maybe is it higher than Zimmer Nolan? I mean, that's pretty great. And and the other actually, you know what actually might be the best of this century is Bird Giacchino. Like that's pretty. I mean, at least Incredibles and Ratatouille in particular. That is pretty astounding.
I guess Spielberg and Williams is kind of.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm saying 21st century. Obviously,
also needs to be up there. Yeah.
If we're going back that far, there's plenty of other people we could talk about.
But I mean, he's in that conversation in my mind. I would say
that's how great Hurwitz is.
Yeah.
He's already just with those scores. He like writes for Curb Your Enthusiasm too. Like he's like this comedy writer on the side as well. It's really
so funny.
Really strange. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Paul King, the master behind the Paddington movies.
Oh, yes.
Very important filmmaker, but genuinely a really talented filmmaker.
Love
I
Paddington.
think people think we're joking when we talk about how great Paddington is, but it's really a wonderful thing. I really feel like I should mention Asghar Farhadi, the director of The Separation, which I think I may have mentioned earlier, and every movie I've seen by him is really good. He does these movies that are very restrained and kind of like Koreeda, sort of slice of life movies. But in his case, there's this intensely sort of like almost like secretive, suspenseful nature under the movies that makes them just incredibly compelling. Is there anyone else you wanted to talk about? I mean, Inarritu, we could briefly. Is there anything we want to say about Inarritu?
I think we talked a little bit about it.
I think Birdman is still like his best movie.
Yeah,
and I appreciate The Revenant. I really love Beautiful, but another guy who I'm like, hey man, make another movie. It's like he did those two back to back, and then he's just sort of disappeared.
I think we should move on and touch. Well, is there anybody in the 2000s else who?
No, I haven't done my two favorites actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to mention Jason Reitman really quickly, also because he made Up in the Air, which is like one of my favorite movies, and he's genuinely like one of my favorite of this decade too, because he also made Young Adult and Juno, and Thank You for Smoking. He's had a little bit of a downturn recently, but he's really great. And Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. That's more TV. No, but the two. Well, the thing about it is, the two I have at the very top are Andrew Stanton and Pete Docter. I don't know if Andrew Stanton is like, technically you could put them over Chazelle and Bong, because well, in Bong's case, he's made more great movies than Stanton. But Stanton has, in some ways is akin to Chazelle, because they've both made 4 movies, and one of them is not recommendable. In Chazelle's case, it's an okay movie. In Stanton's case, it's an astoundingly bad movie called John Carter. But Andrew Stanton, Finding Nemo and Wall-E not only are great movies or maybe even masterpieces, but are like, to me, two of the most like grand attempts at almost like epic level filmmaking in a weird sort of way of anyone. I'm not sure how much, if we've ever really talked about his movies before. Or which are the favorites of you. I'm assuming you like those movies at least, right?
Yeah, I would say I like Finding Nemo better than I like Wall-E. For me, these are in the sort of like mid-tier of, both of them are kind of in the mid-tier of my favorite Pixar movies. So, okay. I'm excited more to talk about Pete Docter. So, I don't have too many great feelings, but not great feelings about Andrew Stanton, but more like he's not necessarily held up as one of my favorites. I guess.
He's another guy who I'm sort of like, we've been talking about, like, Favreau or those people where it's like I'm waiting for him to like really sort of take off again. But unlike Favreau, who's, is not like, you wouldn't say he's an amazing filmmaker. The filmmaking in Nemo and Wall-E is like really like astounding. And obviously I've got a nostalgic connection to something like Nemo, where, it's the first movie I saw in the movie theaters ever. And maybe the first Pixar movie I ever saw. And it's, just an incredibly important movie in my life. But I'm just waiting for the next great movie he's made, because I just think Finding Dory was just like, did you even see that?
No, I didn't.
It was just sort of like, it was a perfectly acceptable movie. But I'm just, I saw an interview with him recently, and he's talking about, he has one movie that's sort of like a Blade Runner or like dystopian-esque science fiction movie. And then the other movie he's working on getting made is called Revolver, and it's about the Beatles landing in like a town in Alaska, and this girl who's like obsessed with meeting George Harrison, and he describes it as a coming of age movie in like the vein of Almost Famous and Dazed and Confused, I think he said, which is like so much in my like taste of movies. So I'm just like, hey, make these movies. I mean, I'm sure these are not easy movies to get financed, but I just feel like the man who directed Finding Nemo and WALL-E should not be spending the last, half decade just directing TV. That's all he's been doing. It's like, this I don't know. It seems so beneath him. Right. And but Pete Docter maybe has the most perfect filmography. I mean, it's 3 movies, so it's not the hardest thing in the world. But even so,
soon to be 4 movies. I mean,
right, and I've heard good things about that as well.
Yeah. But Monsters Inc., Up, and Inside Out are. I mean, what a canon. I mean,
it's 3 movies, but like, can you think of anyone else whose first 3 movies are on that level? Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Each one, well, I don't know if I'd say each one is better than the last. I used to be in the club of saying Inside Out is his best movie, but I don't know, man. I just watched Up again in the last like year or something with Kazu,
and so good.
It's truly one of the best films ever made. I mean, it's really it also is like in that Where the Wild Things Are category, where it's a movie that could entirely be metaphorical, but it works both in the metaphorical terms and in the just pure narrative terms, and also in terms of entertainment. I mean, it's like the stuff with Doug and the kid is like hilarious, and it's a great action movie. Like the whole action climax is phenomenal with the fight, the blimp in the house, and the dog fights,
the sword fight on the old man
sword
on the blimp,
fight. The climbing up the thing. I mean, it's like a great old like swashbuckling movie, and then on top of being just this beautiful movie about this old person looking back on his life and literally in some cases letting go of the baggage of his whole life. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredibly moving. I mean, of course, the famous scene is the opening montage, but of course, I also I don't know. I think the best scene for me in the movie is him reading the diary at the end of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where he's looking at the message from Ellie is just so wonderful.
I would say my favorite scene of the movie is when he throws out all of the furniture.
Yes, which is the following,
and he floats away.
Oh my God, it's so great.
And it leaves the 2 chairs. I mean, and even just talking about it makes me tear up. I mean, it just leaves me with. I mean, it's
he's so talented, and I think it's like. Well, I mean, we can talk more about these because I definitely think we're going to do like a Pixar episode.
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah.
So we don't need to go into super depth, but I just feel like, while other Pixar directors have gone and done sequels, he is someone who has continued to push himself with every movie. It seems like Soul is a continuation of that, where it's like he is just every movie is more and more audacious and more like just completely original. So I don't know. I'm always excited for whatever he makes. Okay, where are we at now? What's going on now?
I think we should talk just very, very quickly about the 2010s, and be done with this.
Yeah, I feel like
with this list, because we've gotten 4 hours.
Pretty amazingly here.
I mean, I think we've literally talked about every movie that we've ever seen. So.
Yeah, this is. I mean, again, I have to blame you for this a little bit because this was not at all my intention. But still, I sort of enjoy. It's sort of like a even bigger version of what we did with the decade, where it's like we're like almost kind of looking back on our whole lives.
Yeah. It's kind of our magnum opus in a certain way. Obviously, we're going to go more into detail into most of these. I would say let's do maybe this one. We can do just our favorite of the decade, because most of these filmmakers, I would say, we are expecting them to sort of turn out in a new way in the upcoming years and in 2020 maybe.
Yes, I mean this is much harder to predict because like now we're talking about, you know,
people have made like 1 or 2 movies.
Like if we were doing this in 2010, we would not be looking at Damien Chazelle on the basis of Guy and Madeline as one of the. He would be like on the top of our list of the. By the way, who is your number one? Was it Bong or Chazelle?
I would say Bong, probably.
Okay. Yeah, so I have to write those down. But this is like, you know, we're going off of maximum 3 movies here, so it's really just sort of it's a stab in the dark. But then, you know, there's a lot of people I respect here, and probably more so we just, you know, name a few people and then talk about our favorite person.
To me, just to name a few people, Jordan Peele I think is great. Alex Garland is great. Eggers from I think the one movie that I've seen of his, I really liked.
The Lighthouse, you
know, surprisingly, Bradley Cooper, I really enjoyed.
Pretty good.
What was it called?
Starsborn.
Yeah. But my and then I guess shout out I guess to Anna Lily Amirpour, even though she made one good movie and one terrible movie. So,
but she's definitely someone of a lot of talent. I think you can see it. You can see it even in the Bad Batch. Oh, I know who you're going to pick. Of course, I know who you're going to pick.
Trey Edward Shults, I guess, is he's certainly up there, even though, again, I've only seen one of his movies. So
but pretty great one.
Yeah, a fantastic one. I mean, one of my favorites of last year. So, but Ari Aster, I mean, he's made 2 just spectacular movies. He is
he's a sick man.
So far, unmatched in this decade, I would say. He's come out shot out of a cannon, really. I mean,
like Hereditary, for that being a first movie, it's like such an assured vision of just insanity, and so great to the point that, did you know, like Scorsese has like talked in seminars about how great Ari Aster is?
Really?
Can you imagine being
that makes
like
me so happy?
A guy in your 30s and fucking Martin Scorsese is talking about how great you are. That must be really pretty.
Yeah, Bong Joon Ho apparently gave an interview talking about how Hereditary is like fantastic.
That too, would be pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, these movies are not for everyone, and certainly for the people who listen to this podcast, who really is, you know, Nancy Jones. I'm not sure if it's something you'd want to watch, but I don't know if you take the chance on it. It's to me they're more than just like horror movies. They're also like great family or relationship dramas in the case of Midsommar, where you I don't know, I to me it's like he should be making like Ingmar Bergman type movies, you know. I mean, I enjoy his horror aspects obviously, but I think there's a place for him, I feel like, for also doing something that's more dramatic, I guess. I feel like we should mention Lee Unkrich, because Toy Story 3 and Coco are pretty great movies. A few people have just made like one toweringly great movie. Alfonso Gomez Rejon, Me and Earl and Dying Girl. Great, but you were drunk when you saw it, so maybe you don't.
That's true.
You gotta see that again, man. That is a fantastic movie, though. Stephen Knight did Locke, which is phenomenal.
Oh yes.
Nat Faxon and Jim Rash actually, I think, made probably my favorite debut movie of this decade, which is The Way, Way Back, which is this lovely coming-of-age movie with a great Sam Rockwell performance. Also, Kelly Freeman Craig made Edge of 17, which is great. And Ryan Coogler, who, you know, has made 3 really great movies with Fruitvale Station and Creed and Black Panther. I look forward to seeing him kind of step out of like the big budget movies and back to his roots a little bit, because Black Panther got like a little bit like over the top, but, you know, still a really respectable movie, I think. And Carlos Lopez Estrada's movie Blind Spotting. For me, there's 2 people who are like definitely like the head and shoulders people I'm most excited about. The number 2 is Mariel Heller, who makes very quiet movies, and I don't think you haven't seen those Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood or Can You Ever Forgive Me, right?
No.
But she is a person who, her Mr. Rogers movie was like this wonderful movie where instead of making it about him, she made it about this reporter, and sort of the whole movie seemed to almost like replicate the personality of Mr. Rogers. Like it had the feeling, and it got to the heart of who he was in a way that a movie that was just a conventional biopic wouldn't. Can You Ever Forgive Me is just a great movie. So, definitely, someone who I eagerly await her next movies. And then Trey Schultz, I just think is really, from just his first movie, to me the most exciting director who's come up this decade with where Krisha with this, he just with his family and his childhood home, he made a movie that's more cinematic and more stylish and better crafted than most movies with 100 times the budget. And then I think has just continued to hone that style with It Comes at Night and Waves. And we've talked about Waves at greater length, and I actually think we should it'd be nice to do a full episode on Trey Schultz, because I think there's a lot we could talk about. Krisha, the filmmaking of that, and I think you'd enjoy It Comes at Night because it's another miserable horror film that's in the vein of the things you like. Okay. Wow. This is really a staggering amount of time we have wasted talking about this stuff.
I would say I really need to go because I have to pee so bad.
Oh my God.
I've been bouncing for probably about 25 minutes.
Oh, you should have just told me. I could wait. But okay. Well, then let's just say goodnight really quickly then, Cameron.
This has been sort of a magnum opus of our ideas on filmmaking and throughout literally the entire history of film. So I'm actually really glad that we've done this. And you know what? If you would hold on, just like
just go run to the bathroom.
Okay. Dude. Because I want to get your thoughts on something.
Yeah, and we're supposed to do like a wrap up too. So just go.
All right, I'm back.
Okay. So did you have some final thing you wanted to mention?
Yeah, well, what I was going to say was I've been going back through, I guess since maybe we talked which was last week.
Boy, I just have to say really quickly, it's so funny to hear like just how your demeanor, just vocal demeanor has changed since because I was like, wow, he seems very tense, and I thought, look, you're just annoyed that I've wasted so much of your time.
No, it's I had to pee really bad.
It's like a different person came on the line. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely no. So, no. It's been really interesting actually going through and seeing sort of my blind spots in film history with where our list was, especially I guess last week. It was really fun to see, I guess, some of the areas that I've been missing. So
me too.
And I've actually this week I've been trying to kind of go back to maybe not things that I've been missing necessarily, but I've been kind of reevaluating like what I spend my time actually watching, and like, oh, maybe I can fold in some interesting movies that I wouldn't necessarily watch all the time.
Yeah.
And so like, I just put on, weirdly, like I just put on something that I've seen before, but that I wouldn't normally watch, His Girl Friday, which have you seen that?
No.
It's yeah.
In fact, I think we talked about how Hawks. I haven't seen any of his movies. So
yeah, no, it's a ton of fun, but it's on Amazon. Not in the greatest quality actually, but yeah, but it's a very good movie. And so I was just wondering, like, I would love for you to give me sort of a list of the things that I'm kind of missing, and then in that way I can go.
I could give you a list of some of the best stuff I've watched for the first time, And actually, at the beginning of September, I do my annual greatest of all time list, where I just like, it's basically just the same list every year now. It lasts for years, but I am seriously thinking of putting Ford v Ferrari on the list, which is kind of causing my mind to bend because Waves is my number one. But now I'm like, oh, do I want to put that or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Because I really do love those movies. But yeah, I mean, I could, at some point I could send you some lists of different stuff. It's funny because we were talking about this. It's like you're sort of getting piped into my own world of like this whole thing of having these lists of directors and everything. Like this is just something I do in my own spare time. Like I just have these lists of movies I want to see, directors I want to get into. It's an endless pit of nonsense, but it is nice. I mean, I think part of with Mixed Class and the Film Club and also just being here just with a lot of time and having the Criterion channel and stuff, and especially watching the movies that are about to expire on the Criterion channel forces you to watch them, like A Separation actually, has gotten me to watch, get into people, like John Carpenter. I feel like I'm just like on the brink of like getting into his I mean, I've seen just Halloween, but I feel like there's so many other ones.
You should watch Escape from New York. I don't think you're gonna like love it, like
No, like that's probably the next one on the list though.
But it's on Amazon and I would say it's so accessible. It's such a fun movie. It's not like it's not his most brilliant thing ever, but I just think it's so fun.
No, it's a nice variety. I mean, I'm just looking at. In fact, I could just like throw you on the screen here the most recent things I've watched, and I'm like, oh, I watched the first Mizoguchi movie I'd seen, Ugetsu. I watched West Side Story for the first time. Wait, have you seen that?
Yes, I have. Yeah, it was actually a movie that I had watched sort of growing up. That was kind of.
Do you like that? So I guess maybe you must like if it's like nostalgic, but
it's. I remember enjoying it, but I can't say I've watched it in a while.
It's like beautifully made, but there's just something about it that's like, I don't know, some like musicals. There's just this kind of like posturing the characters have, the like sort of cutesy thing. In a way, it's actually, I think it's not to always bring it back to Little Women, but it is actually a similarity where it's like there's something about when characters are doing the like kind of like the quirky like patter between them that when it's done badly, it really rubs me the wrong way. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to take this amazing retrospective of all of cinema.
Yeah, it's been very fun.
I think we said in the last show.
I would say just give me a list of things because I want to spend my time not watching like I don't know. I just end up sitting down and watching like true crime documentaries basically. Like that's
or YouTube. I know it's just
exactly. So like I need to sort of get back in the
every
the
day
mode
of
like, watching.
I could go on Criterion and I could just watch anything, and I usually just watch one or zero things on there. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? There's I think there has to be a good balance between which is actually good to have like your own list or to have recommendations, because I think, and I think other people have agreed with me on this, that it's important when going through trying to watch tons of movies that if you just go trying to be academic or trying to pick all the stuff, oh, I've never seen this or whatever, like this is the important thing to watch, you just would get bored of it. But for me, what I like is sort of following the threads of my interest. Like, I've been watching John Carpenter movies or watching, I've been watching some Ron Howard movies recently, like stuff like that. I've been watching movies about racing actually recently. So following those sort of threads to me is what's most fun about going through all the classic movies.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, do we want to very quickly, because I know we said we would do this in like the other thing, do we want to just quickly say who are like, do our all-time final list here?
Oh God, I can't just
like too much because the thing about it is this is something I could do off the top of my head because I've thought about it, but is that just too much to?
No, I can't. I
process right now.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, we could
greatest of all time, Oh Jesus, Billy
Or, like,
Wilder.
Your
Scorsese.
Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, the Wilder, Scorsese. That
means 4 directors because it's Mount Rushmore.
I know. I understand the idea. Wilder, Scorsese. Jesus. I don't know. I don't. I know.
I guess I'm realizing it's easier because I was keeping track of who you named, but I realized actually you probably weren't.
No, I wasn't. Who did I name?
Okay, you did Lubitsch.
Yeah.
We both did Lubitsch, and then you did Ozu, and I did Hitchcock, and then we both did Wilder, and then you did Kurosawa, I did Bergman. That was kind of like a throwaway.
Yeah.
And then you did Kubrick, and I did Lumet. Scorsese, Spielberg, Jackson and Linklater, Nolan, Docter and Bong, and Shults and Aster.
All right. Okay. I guess I would do Wilder, Scorsese, Kubrick, and maybe Nolan.
Yeah, I was waiting for Nolan. That's what I like to hear. For me, it's definitely like there's 3 solid. So it's like absolutely it would be Linklater, Nolan, and Scorsese. And then the 4th one probably right now would be Spike Lee, but I could see it being Fincher or Lumet, or some other, even like Louis too. But those are the ones for now. I'll say Spike Lee for now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, thinking I know we talked just endlessly about
go ahead.
Wilder last time, but just thinking about Wilder and the fact that I've connected maybe with him more than any, almost any director from the 20th century, maybe him and Scorsese pretty much.
That's so interesting how much you like Wilder. Not because, I think he's great, but I just mean like the demeanor of his movies is not like personally what I would associate you with. Like, your personality is much more Finchery to me. But on the other hand, that's my dad sort of said the same thing about when he saw Before Sunrise for the first time. Like, oh, I feel like I'm understanding a different part of like who you are, that you find this movie great.
Right.
Okay. Well, look, it's 2 a.m. and we have talked for 4 hours and 40 minutes. This is really a wonderful thing.
Good luck, Juzo.
All right. Well, I'll see you next time, Cameron. It's been a pleasure.
Sounds good. It has
talking about these things.
Reminds me of the old days. It's funny because I know we're gonna. You said if
no, go ahead.
Find a thread of conversation. We'll continue talking. But it does remind me of the old days of the dorm. But in some ways,
conversations. Yeah.
In some ways, it's so comforting because I'm, you're basically the only person. Well, one, you're much much more than I am in a lot of ways, but you're the only literally the only person who I can be like, who we can
talk about these things,
rattle off names, and
just
completely have no no pretense in a certain sense.
No, and we know what each other are talking about, because I can't tell you the amount of times I've brought up this game to other people. My dad being like the best bet, and he's just like, I don't know, who are these people? Like, he has no idea.
Exactly.
So it's I know what you mean. It is nice to have someone who speaks the same language. Anyway, it's only what's the line in Death of Stalin? It's only with comrades and friends who could talk about things such as this. Isn't that what it says? Anyway.
Yes.
I'll see you next time, Cameron. All
right, sounds good.
All right.
Bye.
Later.
you.